Hello, everyone. This is Old School from WhatTheBug.net with the preview for the Panthers-Buccaneers game coming up this Sunday. The young Buccaneers move up to the Carolinas to try and move to 2-0 against the Panther team coming off of a defeat at the hands of the New York Giants. This is always a great game, and what's terrific from a video perspective is there's a lot of great Panther fans out there that produce videos as well. And the fan bases have developed quite a healthy respect for one another over time, even though the teams seem to really hate each other actually on the field. Now, I was informed that a comment I made before was apparently patently stupid, that the Panthers are a very beatable opponent. I'm not quite sure how that's true when you look at the statistical information. Now, stats are nothing but numbers on a sheet, I believe was a quote I've heard from some people. And I usually hear that from people whose stats suck. Now, I admit the only stat that really matters is wins and losses, and right now we've got one win and you've got one loss. So coming into this game, we're trying to go to 2, and while we know that when we face the Panthers, it's going to be a black and blue, old-school NFC Central kind of matchup, this week we're going to have to see what our young defense has done with these tackles. Are for real. They graded out very highly. McCoy graded out incredibly highly for his first game. But when we face the Panthers, it's going to be Williams and Stewart. And unless the Panthers go away from that formula, even when it's not meeting with rapid success, which really seemed to happen against the Giants, we're going to have to deal with it all day long. And that's going to be a terrific test for our defense, who to be honest, looked suspect, especially in the first half against the Cleveland Browns running game that should be nowhere near the caliber of the Panthers. Now, I can't use stats from this year to prove that out. I'm using historical data. And I know that the Carolina Panthers offensive line is in a bit of an upheaval with Otah's injury. When you look at the grade outs of the guys that have been historically very solid, Ryan Khalil's been very solid in the past. Wharton as well. There's the other cat on the end. I can't believe it. Jordan Gross. Jordan Gross is normally a stud, and he's grading out horribly this year. So this is going to be interesting to see who shows up. Is it going to be the Panthers that we know can play, or the Panthers that actually showed up and did play against the Giants? Now, on the Bucs side of the ball, every week that Josh Freeman doesn't break his thumb again, his thumb gets better. The offensive line is going to be the success or failure of this entire scheme. Though they seem to have graded out well according to the coaching staff, and a couple of the sacks were attributed to Josh holding onto the ball too long, when I went back and watched the film again, they didn't look particularly good. I understand he's got to get rid of the ball, but some of that's got to be on the coordinator giving him some targets, and it's tough to go back and see that on tape because you don't get a chance to see the field from over top. Now, on the offensive skill position side of the ball, we're talking about Cadillac Williams, who despite not having a lot of lanes to run through, still had a nice, productive day. And I think he should have an even more productive day, even against a better defense. And I do think the Panthers' defense, despite the move towards youth, is very, very solid. Even with replacing their tackles and with Peppers gone, Beeson is still back there, Godfrey's still flowing around, and John Fox coach defenses are solid. Now, the ratings don't bear this out. Again, the Giants put a lot of numbers on them. When I looked at the stats, I couldn't believe what I was staring at. The offensive side I kind of expected, 28th in the league with 237 yards and 13th in the league with 18 points per game. Both stats that we are at or close to, 21st in the league with 268 or 288 and 14th in the league with 17 points per game. But on the defensive side, this is what I was really amazed by. 25th and 28th in the league for a Panthers defense. That is just absolutely unheard of. Now, I don't believe that's really what they are. And I hope that Greg Olsen doesn't think that's really what they are, because we're going to have to get into the game. We're going to have to do some things that we did not do last week. That offensive line led by Jeff Fain is going to have to try and develop some sort of an identity and provide some lanes to run. Now, I'm not sure how we're going to do that. Ernest Graham graded out very poorly at fullback, and despite being a great guy that everybody likes, it's not about the one fumble, which was bad. It was about not being the kind of lead blocker that he needs to be. He's running as a fullback as if he were a tailback, and that works as long as you're on the exact same page as the tailback who's behind you. If you're not, it falls apart quickly, and that's what it did last week. Now, does that mean, especially with Huggins showing a groin injury, do we go with Presley, who's more of a sort of prototypical fullback, and get Graham some carries at tailback if you got to spell Cadillac, who didn't look like he needed a whole lot of breathers during that game? I think that would probably be a good move. I'm not sure if that's what Coach Olsen's going to do or not. Now, in the passing game, Mike Williams showed that he's got the skills. The question is, can he do it against, a little bit of a different look that he's going to face this week with some more zones, some more cover two, a lot more what he would face in practice than what the Cleveland Browns ran at us out of their 3-4 with some of the matchup man that they were running against us. This is a chance for Sammy Strouder to really shine. This is a chance when you have that Wes Welker kind of receiver running drag routes can come underneath that coverage and get some yards after the catch. And the question for the Bucs on the receiving side is Maurice Stovall going to play? Is he not going to play? If he doesn't play, who's going to get those snaps, and are they going to be productive? Kellen Winslow Didn't really show up last week. I think that that's an opportunity here. Josh really got victimized last year in Carolina. He had a great day yardage-wise, but dropped, I think, 5 interceptions. Beeson got a couple of them. 3 of them, I think, were actually in the end zone. That was a heartbreaking way for a young quarterback to face, but that's what that defense does. They force you to make mistakes. They are built very much in the mold of the way the Buccaneers were built, right? It's about intensity, speed, aggression, get to the ball, rally to the ball, cause turnovers, get points. If you hear the mantra that they spit, it's the exact same thing that we do. So this week, going into Carolina, what we've got to do is try and see if we can continue with Coach Manjurian to get this offensive line to determine what the hell they're going to be. Are they going to be road graders? Are they going to be finesse guys? Whatever they do, and whether we end up using a fullback, whether we keep extra tight ends in, I don't really care what it is. We've got to establish the run. I know you're saying you're a West Coast offense. You don't have to establish the run. You can use the short pass. Well, you can if you actually use short passing plays that make sense. You can't throw naked screens to receivers and expect them to make yards after catch, especially at the NFL level. If you're going to run bubble screens, that's fine. Set it up. Give them a chance to get a couple of blocks and make some room out there in space. If you want to set these guys up, with especially an aggressive defense like the Panthers, let them come after your quarterback and dump it behind the rush to your back, which we worked on incredibly in an incredibly detailed fashion in training camp. That's fine too. But I didn't see any of that in our game plan. And I'm not sure how much of that was because Josh had been hurt. I'm hoping that with another week of practice, we'll see a lot more productivity out of Greg Olson's play calling. Now, we know where the gaps are in this defense because, like I said, it's the defense we face. So on the offensive side of the ball, other than running the ball, we've got to make sure that we're able to move the chains and give our defense some rest. That defense came out after the second half, or in the second half, and played very solid football. And not just against the run, even though we didn't get a chance to face much of it, but those tackles were getting penetration. The corners were playing aggressively. And even though the safeties had probably the worst game Bucs safeties have had in a number of years, they still have the capability to play. Will they actually show up? That's going to be the question. They better, because Steve Smith can make you look like an idiot very, very quickly. Now, Aqib Talib coming back, even though there's news that he violated the terms of his suspension by actually being at the game, is expected to play. We had Kyle Moore on the show this week. He said that the team's been practicing very hard. We've got to make this team one-dimensional, just like the Giants managed to do, even though when I was watching the first half of the game, I thought that the Panthers were running the ball pretty effectively, even with the issues with their offensive line. We cannot let them gouge us. The heart-wrenching 8-play, all-run drive that they ran on us last year was absolutely demoralizing. It's everything you want as a football fan for your team to do. It's everything you don't want to watch your team have done to them. And this is still very fresh in the mind of this team. So I look to see the Bucs try and force these guys to be one-dimensional, try and sell out against the run. I think they have a lot of confidence in what Aqib can do with Steve Smith out there. I don't think they have a lot of concern with the other receivers, whether it's Jarrett or whoever else is out there. And it's not a slight to those receivers, but they haven't proven it yet on tape. So I think if we're going to get beat by a 2 or a 3 receiver by the Panthers, then we'll take that risk, and then we can adjust our coverage. But we're sure as hell not going to leave them lanes to run. It's going to be about fundamentals. This is going to be one of those games that is going to be traditional. Like I said, I call it NFC Central because that's when I started following the Bucs. But NFC South has taken on very much that same mold, with the exception of the Saints. This is going to be a dirty trench warfare kind of game, and I like to see it. Now, Matt Moore is supposed to play if he's healthy, and it seems he's going to be, so we won't see Clausen. I think Matt Moore posted about a 32 QB rating. He did not show the intelligence that we saw at the end of last year. Now, this was a young kid who no one had tape on. Now there is tape on him. Will the Bucs be able to create those turnovers the way the Giants did? We're going to have to hope so. We're going to have to see those linebackers continue their maturation. Again, statistically, it's tough to use stats after one game, but rarely when I look at Bucs stats in comparison to the opposition on the offensive side of the ball, points, the Panthers scored 18, we got 17, but we outgained them in every way and in every average. And on the defensive side of the ball, with the exception of yards per receipt, we haven't beat there. Now, all of that doesn't mean anything until we get up there to their home turf. We're not playing in the safe confines of Raymond James Stadium this week, even though there were only 42,000 people. The 42,000 people at Raymond James were loud, which was good. This will be the hostile territory up there in Carolina at Bank of America, and their fans know how to support a team. The goal then is to get them out of that game. Can we see Gerald McCoy continue his development? Can we see Brian Price get some more snaps and continue that development? Roy Miller's not a slouch either. We're going to have to look for Geno Hayes and Quincy Black to make a statement and Barrett Ruud to patrol the middle. I like our chances. I don't understand why Pat Kerwin continues to attack us. His comment in his video this week is that the Panthers really know this team and they know the receivers. The receivers are new. They don't know this team. They don't know these receivers. I just don't understand how people can make statements like this. But what the hell do I know? I'm not mainstream media. I look to see the Bucs do very well. I think that confidence is one of those things that spreads, especially with a young team. And the Panthers are one of only two teams younger than us in the league. They're about a year behind in this youth movement, and that's a dangerous place to be because it's going to be a location of streaks. So look to see a couple of swings of momentum. Hopefully the Bucs will take that momentum quickly, and they'll be bolstered by what happened with the Browns and get in there and get a win for us this week. I look to see Cadillac have a big game. I think Coach Olson's going to sell out to that. I do think I'll see Presley in at fullback some, and I hope the Bucs are able to pull off a win. If they do, I think it's going to be by probably 7 to 10 points. I think that our defense is going to hold up very well against this Panther offense, which we have not been able to say in the better part of 5 years. That's it. That's all I got this week. We'll do a post-game video after the game somewhat, obviously.